Welcome back, you all, to CHD 203. My name is Tracy Murph, and I am your instructor for this course. And this week, we will be discussing Chapter 2, The How and Who of Emergent Literacy. So in this chapter, we will compare and contrast theories of literacy development. We will elaborate on emergent literacy perspective that was introduced in Chapter 1, and we will explain the elements of emergent writing development. This chapter will also detail how early literacy teaching and learning need a structured and balanced approach focused on the individual child's needs. So let's get started. Chapter 2.1 is entitled Theories of Literacy Development. The field of literacy development is rich in its theoretical history. Professionals in the field must have a general understanding of the theories that inform today's literacy knowledge and instructional practices. Moreover, these theories will be interpreted differently by each person who reads this text, who watches this slideshow. So the first one we will discuss is Brown, and this was in 1998. So Brown categorized all reading models as either bottom up, top down, or interactive. Bottom-up reading models began with the printed text and presumed that all meaning resides in the text and that the reader must decode the meaning. Bottom-up models are problematic because they underestimate the contribution of the reader by overlooking the fact that readers rely on their understanding of language and how it functions to make sense of written text. Top-down models emphasize the reader's background knowledge and experiences interpreting the text. Well, here's what happens. When bottom-up and top-down models alone didn't work or they were insufficient, that's where those interactive models of literacy or reading emerged. And this approach, that interactive approach, views reading as an interaction between the reader and the text, recognizing that if we rely too heavily on just one, just on the reading or just on the text, that's when reading difficulties will emerge. Effective readers balance strong decoding skills, figuring out the unknown words, with the ability to comprehend or interpret meaning, with decoding becoming more automatic as we practice. Okay, so as more and more we do it, we'll be able to decode the words and say what they are. But still essential as reading skills develop. So the next idea became the simple view of reading, okay? And it's referred to in your text as SVR. And the simple view of reading views comprehension as the product of both decoding or code related and meaning related or language comprehension skills as it represents in this textbook, okay? So here's what this means. I tried to summarize it for you right here on this slide. Both are necessary. Both decoding and language comprehension are necessary. But what the simple view of reading said is that if one is missing, true comprehension cannot occur. So the simple view of reading emphasized that building strong language comprehension requires more than decoding practice. Children need rich, diverse, real-life experiences to develop background knowledge and vocabulary. Go back to what we talked about in Chapter 1. And we talked about those real life experiences and why they matter. And that's because it gives them background knowledge, but it also gives them vocabulary. And so we didn't really talk about that in Chapter 1, but that vocabulary development, that understanding of those words, that's what's important. So those real life experiences, simple view of reading, it said real life experience is key, okay? Because it gives them that background knowledge and it gives them that vocabulary. So a strong knowledge foundation supports language development, meaning in turn, it enables children to effectively comprehend what they're reading. So the next one, which was similar to the simple view of reading, was called the reading rope model. Okay. And the reading rope model highlighted two main strands of learning to read: word recognition and language comprehension, same as SVR. As the lower level skills, such as phonological awareness, decoding, sight recognition, strengthen, word recognition becomes more automatic and accurate. That stands to reason. The more I'm able to do all those things, the more quickly I can read the words on the page. Okay, I become accurate and automatic. But at the same time, my growth in background knowledge, vocabulary, language structure, verbal reasoning, all of those things makes that language comprehension more strategic. So the reading rope model demonstrates that skilled reading depends on multiple interwoven skills working together simultaneously at the same exact time. Okay? So when reading is not automatic or strategic, it becomes necessary to identify which specific skills need additional support. Along comes two more theorists, McKenna and Stahl, and they came up with the cognitive model. And the cognitive model addresses this by using a reverse approach to analyze where are the reading problems, where's the breakdown. Okay, this model the helps teachers and educators pinpoint the component skills that require targeted instructions to support skilled reading. So this was kind of where the cognitive model of reading talked about all these different pathways and how it helped teachers determine where children were struggling. The cognitive model of comprehension, that was McKenna and Stahl, okay? They said, let us help you. Let us help you figure out why a child is struggling with reading. So it broke reading down into three simple areas: recognizing words automatically, seeing them on the page and reading them, understanding language, and then using reading strategies. And by looking at these three pathways, teachers can easily see where the child needs help. The next view of reading, based on all this theorist and what they were telling us, is called the active viewer reading model. The active view of reading model explains that reading is not just about skills, but also about effort and focus. It shows that readers need to stay engaged, manage distractions around them, and use strategies to understand words and meaning. Motivation, attention, and the situation in which reading happens all play an important role in reading success. Section 2.2, Approaches to Emergent Writing. Emergent writing looks very different from traditional or formal writing in older classrooms. It requires multiple skills and strategies, including developing phonological awareness, increasing verbal skills to describe and tell stories, and using pictures to represent meaning. And so as emergent writing is, and it's different from formal writing, and it develops through several early skills. So building that phonological awareness, strengthening their verbal language to tell stories, and using pictures to show meaning as part of the writing process. Encouraging early writing is important because it supports children's future writing success in school. As children learn to speak and gain new words, they can also begin making marks on the paper at the same time. Early writing and oral language grow together, with each helping strengthen the other. It's kind of a thought of if I can read it, I can write it, and if I can write it, I can read it, okay? Oral language development includes understanding how sounds make up spoken language. To begin writing with correct letters, children need to hear individual sounds, they need to know letter names, and they need to understand that letters represent sounds. Okay? So let me go back over that for a second. For children to begin writing with accurate letter representation, they have to have three things: phonemic awareness. They have to recognize individual sounds. Second thing, they have to have alphabet knowledge of letter names. And the third thing is alphabetic principle, meaning an awareness that letters can represent those sounds. Early writing develops alongside early reading. They are interactive, they depend on each other. And children benefit from interacting with print in many ways. Before they understand sound letter connections, children explore writing through scribbling, drawing, and letter like marks. These early stages support oral language and help children learn to communicate ideas. While writing skills generally develop in patterns, each child grows at their own pace and should be supported on their individual timeline. So, the National Reading Panel in around 2000 identified key factors that support reading success and predict later achievement. And even with a strong early childhood curriculum, what we teach and how we teach it, its effectiveness depends on how well the teacher implements it. So the teacher matters. What the teacher knows matters, okay? Even when an early childhood education setting has adopted those ideal curriculum, the most perfect one ever, okay? The curriculum is only as impactful as the teacher who enacts it. That's why you matter. Okay. That's why you're so, so important. So, let me go back. I messed up right here. So in balanced literacy, constrained skills, okay, constrained skills are the components of literacy development that accelerate quickly, they develop quickly, and can be fully mastered. They are often taught early because they are foundational and support accurate reading and writing. So constrained skills are phonological awareness, phonics, alphabet knowledge. However, those constrained skills alone do not help children understand the meaning of what they've read. All that does is help them word call. Just say the words on the page. Unconstrained skills help children understand and make meaning from what they've read, comprehend, okay? These skills develop more slowly over time, but begin early and are just as important as those foundational skills. Constrained skills are foundational skills, fundamental skills. Unconstrained, they're just as important, but as foundational constrained skills, but they're just slower to develop. Teaching comprehension, writing, and vocabulary early supports that strong literacy development. A systematic, balanced literacy instruction includes teaching foundational skills like phonemic awareness, phonics, and fluency, along with higher level skills like comprehension, content knowledge, vocabulary, and writing. So, you matter and also materials matter. The materials children are exposed to strongly influence how and what they learn. High quality books and media are essential tools for teachers and create meaningful literacy experiences. Simply put, the materials teachers choose matter for children's speaking, listening, reading, and writing development. So choosing high quality books is an important part of early literacy instruction. Selecting classroom books requires thoughtful decision making from more than one perspective. So we need to look at several things when we're trying to choose what we need to put in our materials we need to choose in our classrooms. So first, books should be chosen to match the purpose of the lesson. High quality books encourage meaningful discussions that build children's vocabulary and understanding. So we need to make sure that we are selecting those books that match our purpose. And the second thing we need to look at is books should represent both the children in the classroom and other cultures. Children need to see themselves in books while also learning about the experiences of others. This idea, which was described by Rudine Sims Bishop, explains that books can act like mirrors, windows, and doors to understanding the world. And that's true. So there's lots of different book types. We have board books. We're going to talk about those over in we're talking about chapter 2. Decodable books, picture books, wordless picture books, okay? And then, I'm getting ahead of myself. And then genre. Genre, we talked about genre early on in this class, but genre is a category. Remember, like music can be a certain type of genre, writing, film, books, fiction, nonfiction, biographies, all of those are genre. Technology includes tools using scientific knowledge, not just electronic devices. Because technology is part of everyday life, removing it entirely from early childhood classrooms is unrealistic and unhelpful. Instead, teachers should thoughtfully decide how and when technology can support children's literacy learning, as it can be a powerful learning tool when used appropriately. Teachers need to keep learning how to use technology appropriately with young children. As technology continues to grow, digital literacy, which is using technology to find, create, and share information, is becoming an important part of classroom learning. So thanks for joining me for Chapter 2, and I'll see you next week or the next time we cover a chapter, and I'm going to leave you with another story, and it's called The Napping House. And this is one of my most favorite stories of all time. And it is by Audrey and Don Wood.
But then I found a way to hack adulthood. It's called AAA. Grown-up perks, zero grown-up stress. Insurance and roadside assistance? Hey, yep.
The Napping House by Audrey Wood and Don Wood. There is a house, a napping house, where everyone is sleeping. And in that house, there is a bed, a cozy bed, in a napping house where everyone is sleeping. And on that bed, there is a granny, a snoring granny, on a cozy bed in a napping house where everyone is sleeping. And on that granny, there is a child, a dreaming child, on a snoring granny, on a cozy bed, in a napping house where everyone is sleeping. And on that child, there is a dog, a dozing dog, on a dreaming child, on a snoring granny, on a cozy bed, in a napping house where everyone is sleeping. And on that dog, there is a cat, a snoozing cat, on a dozing dog, on a dreaming child, on a snoring granny, on a cozy bed, in a napping house where everyone is sleeping. And on that cat, there is a mouse, a slumbering mouse, on a snoozing cat, on a dozing dog, on a dreaming child, on a snoring granny, on a cozy bed, in a napping house where everyone is sleeping. And on that mouse, there is a flea. Can it be? A wakeful flea. On a slumbering mouse, on a snoozing cat, on a dozing dog, on a dreaming child, on a snoring granny, on a cozy bed, in a napping house where everyone is sleeping. A wakeful flea who bites the mouse, who scares the cat, who claws the dog, who thumps the child, who bumps the granny, who breaks the bed, in a napping house where no one now is sleeping. Thanks for watching. Check out our channel for more awesome stories.
I love that story. I hope you did too. I'll see you next week.